Hej och välkommen till Mat och klimat. Den här intervjun görs på engelska. Welcome to Food and Climate. Today we have as a guest Isaiah Esipisu, a journalist in Kenya. Welcome, Isaiah.
Thank you very much, Stefan. My name is Isaiah Esipisu, and I'm a journalist based in Nairobi, Kenya. I specialize in reporting on climate change and related issues, and these include agriculture, energy, transport, and so forth. And I have been able to publish my articles with the Thomson Reuters Foundation, the Interpress Service, the Daily Nation here in Kenya. We have mongabay.org, among other publications around the world.
Okay, sounds great. Today, the subject is a very big project in Kenya, which is halted, and it's a coal-powered plant near a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This very big coal power plant has been put forward by China in connection with the Kenyan government. Can you tell me why this big coal power plant, what would be the consequences if it was built? And can you tell me where is this project now in the process?
Stefan, as you may know, generally, coal combustion releases substances such as carbon, sulfur, and nitrogen, which are not good for the environment and also dangerous for human health. So the coal plant, which is supposed to be sponsored by China, the government of China, at a cost of $2 billion, was supposed to be put up in Lamu, and it was supposed to give an output of 1,050 megawatts of electricity. And this is to add on what we have in our energy mix. But now, activists have said that if this coal plant is put up, then it will emit an approximately 8.8 million megatons of carbon per year, and that is so dangerous, and it will be detrimental to the promise Kenya gave to the Paris Agreement, which was to reduce the carbon emission by 30%. So activists argue that Kenya has a huge capacity of alternative energy that can be able to drive the development of the country. Organizations such as the Greenpeace Africa, the Pan-African Justice Climate Alliance, Climate 360, and many others have actually cautioned the government that if this plant is put up, then Kenya risks of losing about 1,600 people every year because of the pollutions that emanate from this particular plant. As you may be aware, coal-fired power plants, they release a large amount of particles as aerosols into the atmosphere. And according to a recent article published in the Energy Geosciences journal, inhalation of these particles, which include the coal micro and nanoparticles, and its byproducts lead to invisible human health. The study says that inhalation of such particles as sulfur, nitrogen, and organometals, they actually lead to cardiovascular problems. They lead to complications in the systemic systemic inflammation. And this is very dangerous for human health. So they have said that this coal plant should be stopped, and that is why they went to court to petition the government to stop the construction of this plant.
Okay, so which groups? I understand that many people have been active in this process to try to stop this plant, the civil society of Kenya, yes?
Yes, there are many organizations, but the notable one, the one that has led the campaign is called Greenpeace Africa. But we have other umbrella of civil society organizations so they have also been petitioning the government to stop this construction, of which the government was just about to start in collaboration with the government of China.
Okay. So we can see here that you have big consequences for the environment and people's health, with many people dead and sick, because if this plant would be constructed, and also very big consequences for the people living in the area if they would build this plant. Can you tell something about the climate emissions for Kenya if you compare it to their promise at the Paris Agreement? Would it be impossible would it be possible in any way to fulfill the agreement if they build this plant?
Okay, Kenya's emission is very little, and I'm not very sure, but it's about 0.01% of the global emission. But the spirit of the Paris Agreement is to have all countries work towards reducing those emissions, however small it is, because charity begins at home. So Kenya promised to reduce its emission by 30%. You know, we use, in our energy mix, we still have diesel, and we have diesel because we have not exploited all the green energy that we have at our disposal. So I don't know exactly how much Kenya emits in total, but the promise to the Paris Agreement was that Kenya was going to reduce 30% by the year 2030.
I can imagine that this plant would mean maybe 30, 40, 50% increase of the whole of the emissions for the whole Kenya, yes?
It could actually double the emission that we have right now. Because when you talk about 8.8 million megatons of carbon, it's like they estimate it to be like 2 million cars on the road. Yeah. And that is the impact we are talking about here.
Okay, and how many cars do we have on the road in Kenya now? Do you know that?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Okay. So when the court decided to freeze this project, what was the argument? Because there are big arguments, but what motive did they use?
Okay, when the civil society went to court, the main argument is that the people of Lamu were not consulted. And you know, Lamu is just, the site is just actually 20 kilometers from the Lamu Island, the historic old town, which is the UNESCO's World Heritage Site. So that is one thing that the activists were citing. But the most important thing is that the residents of Lamu were not consulted at all. So the court said that the officials failed to conduct a thorough assessment of the plant and the impact on the Lamu people, the health and the environment and the historic site. So those were the arguments upon which the construction was stopped. And then the license was revoked, which had been issued by the National Environment Management Authority. And this is the licensing organization that gives a license to such projects to proceed. So it has been revoked by the court.
Okay. And do you think, what is the next step? Is this project already over? Can people feel relieved now? Or is it still a chance, a risk that this project will go ahead?
I do believe in the power of the civil society movements in this country. You remember last time we had the government proposing to construct a huge building in a recreational place in Nairobi, which is called Uhuru Park, and just one civil society organization called Greenbelt Movement, headed by the late Professor Wangari Maathai, they managed to stop that, and it has stopped completely. You remember we had people grabbing land in the Karura forest, which is just next to the city. And this particular organization, the Greenbelt Movement, they petitioned the government and that project stopped. So I believe with more than one civil society organizations petitioning the government against this particular project, I'm sure people should rest assured that it will not continue because of the strength of the civil society in Kenya.
Okay, sounds good. Can you tell me something about how is Kenya doing when it comes to renewable energy? Is it moving fast, building renewable energy, and what kind of renewable energy?
Actually, we say Kenya is the champion of renewable energy in Africa. Why do I say that? There is no single country in Africa that has invested in renewable energy than Kenya. Just to put that into perspective, Kenya's main energy production is hydro, water-based. And Kenya produces about 826 megawatts of hydro from the hydro energy sources. Then we have another big child on board called geothermal. Today, Kenya is producing 828 megawatts. It has just surpassed what has been the giant, the major source of energy that is hydro. And now geothermal is giving us 828 against hydro, which is 828, and that is very good news. Then we have wind energy. The government has invested in a wind energy project in a place called Loyangalani, which is in Turkana County. Turkana County is in northwestern Kenya, and it is producing right now 331 megawatts. Then we have solar, which we are just beginning to invest in. And again, in collaboration with the Chinese government, we have a solar plant in a place called Garissa in northeastern, and it is producing about 51 megawatts, and this is the newest, and I think it's the biggest in East African region. And then we have biomass, which gives us a mere 28 megawatts. But diesel, we still have energy from diesel, which is not clean, and we produce about 749 megawatts, and that should change because we have enormous geothermal that we have not invested in. We have a capacity of about 10,000 megawatts according to the experts, and if we exploit all that, then we will have more than enough energy we need at the moment for whatever kind of development we will be talking about. So in general, by the end of the year 2020, Kenya was producing 87% of its energy being renewable energy.
Fantastic. So you could say that Kenya is very good in wind and geothermal, and you still have a big capacity for solar power, which is not used yet.
Solar actually, let me say, with the only 51 megawatts, I could dare say that we have not even touched solar, because Kenya, 80% of the country is arid and semi-arid with sufficient sunlight 12 hours a day. So if we had to invest in solar, that is 80% of the country, we have more than enough energy that we will get from solar. And then, as I have told you, geothermal, we have only managed to produce 828 megawatts. Yet we have, within the Rift Valley region, we have 10,000 still lying idle, that if we invested in that, we would be able to produce more than enough green energy and run our country without any problem.
Fantastic. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about which kind of organization have been mobilizing and still working against this possible power plant, to give them some credit for their work?
The Lamu Power Plant, you mean?
Which kind of civil organizations have been working against this plant to save Kenya from this plant?
As I said, we have, the campaign was led by Greenpeace Africa. It is an NGO. It was led by Greenpeace Africa, but I told you, we have other organizations and brings together about a thousand civil societies that work on climate change related issues across the continent.
Okay, so you mentioned Greenpeace Africa, and can you say the other one? We have I didn't hear you so well.
Pan Africa, yeah, it is called, the other organization is called Pan Africa Climate Justice Alliance. In short, it is called PACJA. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Isaiah, for this interview. And I think we will talk again later on this year. I hope so. Thank you for being in the program.
You are much welcome, my brother.
And for you who have seen this interview, we produce one interview every week, more or less. Vi gör ungefär en intervju i veckan. De allra flesta är på svenska, men när vi har gäster utanför Sverige så använder vi engelska. Tack för att du var med.